Okay, teachers, let's talk about sick days. You literally could be sitting on a gold mine of sick days if you're not one that wastes them every year or you didn't have to use them for a medical reason. As these sick days accrue year after year, if you're able to hold them all, and it depends on the state, it depends on the individual contracts in some states. There's language in the collective bargaining agreement that in some cases is really, really good, and unfortunately in other cases is really, really bad. So there's kind of like two schools of thought. I chose to save all of my sick days. I had 150 sick days, and that was after giving my wife in our district, since we were a married couple, I could transfer my days to her. She was able to stay home with all three of our kids for the full 12 weeks and get paid for every single week. Typically, if you don't have the days, you don't get paid for that time off. So even with three children, my wife staying home, I still had 150 sick days at the end of my career. And based on the formula in our contract, I was able to cash them in for $25,000. Okay. Now, as I talk to teachers, some of them say, oh my gosh, ours are worthless. We don't get a penny for them. Okay. This is where a strategy has to come into play. And listen, before I even say this, loyalty be damned. I know you feel bad when you take a sick day because it potentially is going to screw your colleagues, and worst case, the assistant principal has to jump into a classroom to cover. Listen, those days are part of your compensation package. It's just like in the business world, if somebody gets a lease, they say, hey, you're going to get a BMW. The company pays for it as you're driving around. Okay, fine. That's part of your compensation package. Your sick days are yours. Now, again, I know there's a sense of guilt with, I can't take a Monday and a Friday off. Yeah, you can. Now, you start getting into, well, I don't want to get written up, or, they're going to come after me. Listen, after the whole pandemic thing and then the mental health, it's like, and I'm not making light of that, but teachers are stressed. And if you just take a day off on like a Wednesday, if you take a Wednesday and just kind of recenter yourself, you're good to go for the next couple days. Like, people need that. I'm not saying just willy-nilly, without a reason, but you've got to think of either use them or lose them. So if you can get paid for them, and as I talk to some teachers from different states, you can actually earn time. So you can say, listen, I cashed in all my sick days and I was able to earn two years of my 30-year requirement. Now I can leave a couple years early. That's fantastic, But if you're not going to be able to cash them in for either time or money, some people just say, I'm just going to use them for my own mental health. Like I have a very stressful job. I'm going to take a day every couple weeks, whether it's a Monday or a Friday or a Thursday, and I just need to kind of get away from this so I'm in a good spot for the kids, right? I mean, that's our job. So anyway, you have a couple options. Now, a good friend of mine, he didn't want to cash them in because you only get a percentage of them. He said, listen, if I take all of these days off, I'm getting paid the full amount every time I'm out of school. Now, and this is, again, he used to crack us up because like once a month he would take a Thursday and Friday off, and he would call it a Thanksgiving. So, because that's what you typically get. So he'd be walking out the door. This is middle school. You guys, the middle school teachers know, they're crazy. So he'd be walking out the door on a Wednesday, and he'd say, we'll see you guys on Monday. And we'd say, happy Thanksgiving. And he did this all year long. And again, this was his last couple of years. He said, what are they gonna do, fire me? So again, I understand there's a little bit of risk there where you're like, listen, I'm only 35 years old. I'm in it for the long term. I can't be pulling some of these shenanigans. So I realize there's a little bit of, touchy stuff there. So you got to figure out what's right for you. I said, listen, I don't like missing school. You guys know, you come back to school, my stapler was broken. All of my whiteboard markers were dried out. There's no pencils or pens on my desk. And I know that sounds stupid, but you guys know what I'm talking about. I hated that. Your desk is a mess and you're like, what? I was gone for one day. What the hell happened? So anyway, I like to kind of stockpile all my days and then cash them in at the end. But it's very important that you know what your contract within your district or what your state allows, because you could screw yourself. I have another buddy at school. They've traded some higher salaries in the district that I was at, but they lowered the sick day payout. So they said, okay, we don't want to be paying out people $35,000. So they lowered the number of days that you can cash in exchange for higher salaries, right? It's a negotiating tactic. So a buddy of mine who's still teaching there, he has too many days now. He has way beyond the limit of what the new contract says. So he's got to figure out, because you know, if you have 60 extra days, they're not going to give you anything for them. So you again, my point is these are conversations that you have to have. You can't wait till your last year and go, oh crap, I have 32 extra days. You can't take 32 days off in 1 year. You know what I mean? So I'm trying to get you guys to think about this stuff and have these conversations. We used to talk all the time at lunch and on our prep hours. I wasn't one that was checking papers on prep hour. I was talking to my colleagues. A lot of times we were talking about retirement topics because we knew exactly how this wanted to play out. And people would say, all you guys do is talk about retirement. And we would say, well, retirement is hopefully going to be a majority of your life. You know, if you leave at 55 and you live another 30 plus years, you want to make sure you're taken care of. So anyway, leave your thoughts, leave your comments. What does your contract say for sick days? What does your state allow? I think it's great if you can get time. I think it's wonderful if you can get money. And if you don't get anything for them, if it's diddly squat, I would probably take tomorrow off, or I would take Monday off and say, you know what, screw you guys. This is part of my compensation package, and I don't feel like coming in today. And if they say you need a doctor's note, you say, I got a migraine. You don't go to the doctor for a migraine. You stay in bed, you kind of get better, and then you go back the next day, right? But again, what do I know? I'm just a retired teacher. So leave your thoughts, subscribe so you don't miss anything. Keep teaching them up because you guys are doing great.